the poshest bars at Twickenham. In a minute, we'll take you downstairs to see the England dressing room, and then you get to play rugby on the pitch out there. That is not a bad Saturday, right? That's all right. So a couple of people I want to say a warm welcome to. Firstly, Woodford Rugby Club. Welcome. Here as competition winners, thanks to Daniel Harding. Where's Daniel? Daniel, mate. It's Daniel you want to thank. Hello, Daniel. Hello. And also Rugby United. Where's Rugby United? Yay! Lads, you will not be playing against this lot, so don't worry about that. They have their own half of the pitch that they'll play on. You will get your half as well.
Not just Rugby United.
Before we take you downstairs,
just saying that.
It's not often you get to watch a game as important as that, the British and Irish Lions, with a former British and Irish Lion. And today, we have with us a man who's represented the Lions on not just one tour, but two. Not only that, he's a World Cup winner with England Rugby. Not only that, he scored the only try in the final for England when England won the World Cup in 2003. Now, quick show of hands. Who was born after 2003?
Oh, really?
Who's old enough to remember 2003?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it wasn't a bad day, was it? It wasn't a bad day. We beat Australia in Australia in a game that went to extra time. Jonny Wilkinson dropped goal at the end to seal it, but it wouldn't have happened without this guy's try. So would you please do me a favour and welcome the legend that is Jason Robinson MBE. So, Jason, can we start, before we go on to talk about you and your career and everything you achieved, and of course that try in the World Cup final, by analysing that game. The Lions have been a bit hit and miss in the warm-up games. That game, I think, showed a massive gulf between New Zealand and the Lions. The possession stats were very skewed. You can't score if you haven't got the ball. Where did the Lions go wrong? Where did New Zealand go right?
You know, I look at that game and you just realise why New Zealand are the #1 team in the world. And the reason why they're #1 team in the world is because they do the basics very well. Quite often, I know when we all want to get out there, want to do all the fancy passes and do everything, but they just seem to do it really well. And man for man, they just get it right. Today, you look at territory, you look at possession. The Lions started off pretty well, actually. But as we've seen thus far in the Lions tour, when we created opportunities, which I thought we created a lot of opportunities today, we can't turn those into points. And the difference is, when New Zealand get the opportunity, they just turn it into points. You know, they're so clinical, and it doesn't matter where they are on the field, they just finish it off. But if you're on the back foot, any team on the back foot, you're either going to give away penalties or you're going to give away weak tackles, and they'll just be on the front foot all the time. And they did that today. You just saw guys like Barrett controlling the game. Reed has been out injured, comes back. I mean, that pass he gave off the floor was amazing. But there's some good things there for the Lions. They'll be bitterly disappointed because you want to win the first game. You want to try and get that advantage. Now for the Lions, it's do or die. The next game they have to do something. And I thought if they're going to win one of the games, for me it was going to be the second game. I honestly did. The stats for Eden Park, the Lions have not lost for 23 years, and I know you can't always call it stats, but it was always going to be a tough game. I think in the next test, the Lions really have to take it to them. We saw in some of the games leading up, Crusaders especially, the Lions getting up, that defensive line getting up, stopping New Zealand. If you stop New Zealand, you stop that momentum, and you've got an opportunity. But today we couldn't stop that momentum, and they just showed that they are world class. So I was happy with. I thought Davis did well, created a few opportunities. Liam Williams, you know, that break out from the out 5 metre line. You know, the Lions show that they can actually score, but too many opportunities. We got into good positions, turned over ball, penalties. You just can't do it at this level.
How difficult is it for the Lions when you've got a team like New Zealand who play together regularly, year in, year out, and a lot of that is an established side, players who've played together for so long. With the Lions who come together once every 4 years, you've got your England players who are used to playing in the England system, the Wales players, the Scotland players, all of whom, when they come together for internationals, have their own style, their own system. Yeah. How difficult is it for a Lions team to adjust against a team like New Zealand who are so used to playing together?
It's very difficult. Just going over there, I played against New Zealand for England and also Lions, and just playing for them. When you're playing for England with guys that you work a lot with, you know them inside out, it's very difficult. But with the Lions, it's a unique concept. 4 nations coming together, you don't have a lot of time, and all of a sudden, all the different systems that you use within your own country and your teams, all of a sudden you've got to change that, and it's now down to what you need to do as a Lion. So it's very difficult because the world's eye, the rugby eye, is on New Zealand. And not only they got to play 3 tests against New Zealand, they've had some real tough games in the lead up to it. So every game is almost like a test match. So it is difficult, but that's what the Lions is about. The last tour in Australia, the Lions won.
Yeah.
So it can be done, and as a player, it's a great honour to play for the Lions. That shirt, the history behind it, the players that have worn it before you, and you want to try and continue that. You want to try and do something that really shouldn't be done. And the support that the Lions have had thus far out there is always immense. It's a very proud moment for them. But it's one thing being selected for a Lions tour. You want to be a successful Lion. I've actually been on 3 Lions tours. One was in Rugby League. I played in 2001 in Australia. We came close. We probably should have won that one. And then in 2005 in New Zealand, we got smashed. So I know what it's like to be on the losing side of that, and it's not great. You want to be a successful Lion. You don't want to go out and lose a test match. So they'll be bitterly disappointed with that result. All is not lost, as I say. Now they'll look at the game, they'll analyse the game, they'll look at the things that they've done well, but they have to stop that role that New Zealand get. They have to get amongst them, as they've done again in some of the other games. But it's not going to be easy. But that's a challenge. As a player, it's one thing being the best or one of the best over in the Northern Hemisphere. You want to test yourself against the best players in the world, see where you stand, and this is certainly one of those challenges. And they'll, as I say, they'll be disappointed, but they've got to pull together. They've got a week to turn it round, and who knows? The great thing about rugby is things can turn round in a very short space of time. They've got to keep that belief. I'm sure they're going to get peppered in the media now, as they have been throughout this tour. But collectively, when you go on the Lions tour, there's 40-odd players there and the staff. It's almost you against the nation. So they will keep it close this week. As I say, they'll analyse their performances and they'll want to come out stronger, because ultimately, if they don't win the next test, they've lost the series. So I expect them to come out a bit better than
expect a response.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your career. You mentioned the Great Britain Rugby League, the tour you went on. Of course, your career started in Rugby League, one of the players that has transferred across and excelled really in both sports. How difficult was that transition from Rugby League to Rugby Union?
It was very difficult. I mean, most of you obviously weren't born then, but there's a few looking around probably who were.
What are you trying to say?
It was difficult. I mean, there's lots of players that have gone from Rugby League to Rugby Union and probably not made a great success of it. It's very tough. It's a completely different game. But for me, when I made the switch, I just wanted to try and keep what I did really well at Rugby League and just transfer those skills and see how I could make that fit into Rugby Union. And ultimately, I knew what I was good at. I mean, as you can see, I'm almost stood up here. I'm a bit of a midget. But I think if you know what you're good at and you work on it, it didn't matter for me whether I played Rugby League or Rugby Union. I knew that whoever I was coming up against, I believed I could beat them. I had fast feet, speed off the mark. I wasn't bothered how big you were in front of me. I believed I could get around you. So I just backed myself. And when you play in Rugby League, it's less technical. So it's really all about attack and defence. So you spend a lot of time on attack, a lot of time on skills and defence. Now with rugby union, there's so many different parts to it. It's hard in an hour and a half's training session to get everything in. So for most of for 9 to 10 years, all I did was look to attack. That was where I was at my strongest, and it went really well. I mean, I made the switch in. My first game was November the 5th, 2000. The following February, I was on the bench for England, and then that June, I was on a Lions tour. So I actually started a Lions test match before I started an England Rugby Union test match, which was quite. And I managed to score 5 on my debut, so that was quite nice as well. But making the switch for me, the reason why I made the switch was, when I played rugby league, I played for about 9 or 10 years, and I was with a team called Wigan, and we were very dominant. We won everything. Where I didn't achieve what I'd like was at international level. So I got a call from a guy who I didn't know at the time, Sir Clive Woodward, and he said, and this was in 2000. He said, look, obviously there's a World Cup in 2003. We're putting a team together, and we feel that you could really contribute to that. And I just thought, well, this is a great opportunity. I was 26, just turning 27, and I thought, it's probably now or never. I didn't want to go for a couple of years when I was 33 and just have a couple of years there. I thought, I'll go now, and if I'm not good enough, it's if I'm not successful, it's because I'm not good enough. It's not because I'm too old. And I came into the England team very early on, and I was surrounded by some fantastic players. And you mentioned the try, and we're talking to a couple of the guys on the table there about Jonny Wilkinson's kick during that World Cup. And whilst it's nice to kick goals and to score tries, it's important to remember that the only reason why you're able to score the tries or get the kicks is because of the work that the team does to get you there. So without Matt Dawson's break and the work that was done to get Jonny Wilkinson in that position, he wouldn't have kicked the goal. There's probably 6 or 7 people that probably could have kicked that goal. Not me, by the way. And likewise, if Jonny Wilkinson had passed to his right hand side, he had Ben Cohen on his right hand side, and he would have gone through the middle. So it's important, whilst everybody wants to score and get on the scoreboard, that these games are not won without a collective effort from the whole team.
It's a very, very modest of you to play down your role in that try, but it was the defining moment, barring Johnny's kick at the end, the defining moment of that final in what was a golden tournament for England. Your celebration after you scored, I don't know if you remember it, Jason scores the try, has the ball in hand and just wellies it out of his hand into the crowd with a roar and fire in your eyes. It clearly was a very important try to score on the world stage. What was going through your mind at that point? Yes,
it was such a release, because I played in 3 World Cup finals, I played on 3 Lions tours, I played in every probably competition going and probably won most of them. But that 2003 World Cup was the most pressure I've ever been under as a player, because to go to Australia in a World Cup is one thing, to go there as the favourites for the tournament is another thing, and we carried that weight. So it's a game, there's not much in it throughout, and there are very little opportunities that come up in a game, and we knew if it came up we had to finish. And thankfully for me, good work by Delalio to Wilkinson. He saw me, and I just bent my ears back and slid in the corner, and when I punched the ball, it was just an outpouring of emotion.
Yes.
And I could have run through the wall. It was good because we scored just before half time, and it puts us in a good position. So,
totally. Listen, as we've got a 2-time Lion with us, 3 times you include the Rugby League Lions tour you went on, anybody got any burning questions they'd like to ask Jason? Anything you've always wanted to ask a Lion? An England international? Yes, mate.
What was the best tip your coach ever gave you?
Great question.
The best tip? There's quite a few, but I think one of them was to express yourself. Now, I think sometimes when it comes to coaching, and I've done some coaching myself, so it's easy to try and put people into sort of pigeonholes, and you should do that because you're that position and everything else. But he just allowed me to play, you know, and that was almost a release for me, and I just enjoyed playing. When I made the switch then to rugby union, Clive Woodward said to me, just play. Because sometimes sometimes it can be a little bit heavy. You get too much told you have to do this and you have to do that, and for me, just that little Clive just saying, look, just play what you see, go out and play, and that then just got me excited, because rugby for me is about excitement. I'm a back, I like to score tries, I like to turn people inside out, sidestepping, all that. For me, you know, I wanted to get people, you know, you look round here, 82,500 people. I knew, I could sense when I got the ball, they knew something was going to happen, and I thrived off that, and I tried to get them off that seat as much as possible, because rugby's about excitement. You know, we all play it because we love it, whether it's a good scrum, you know, a good line out, you know, for some that enjoy that kind of thing, or just some of the stuff we've seen today, just guys with out and out pace, good footwork and great handling skills. So just, you know, you've got to go out and play, and you know, one of the main things that I got taught, and it wasn't from a coach, it was actually from my mother, and it was to work hard, because I honestly believe if you work hard, then you'll be successful in something, whether it's rugby, whether it's work or anything. And you'll stand out like a sore thumb, because whilst everybody wants to be the next, you know, Anthony Watson or Bowden Barrett or Owen Farrell, there's a reason why they are where they are, and that's because of a lot of hard work. And you know, I'm sure for you there's a lot of distractions at your age now. You know, you've got training on, and then people are saying, come here, go and do that. You know, it's the ones that really commit themselves and go over and above what you normally do. If you're in a team and you do an hour session with your team, and then that's all you do, then why should you be any better than anybody else? It's the ones that go away, that analyse your own game, even at your age. Just write a couple of things down and say, what did I do well today? What could I work on? Go to the coach. Coach, how did I do? What can I get better on? Can you spend 10 minutes afterward? It's a kicking game. Because when I came to rugby union, I couldn't kick. I was awful. And I'm not saying I was world class by the time I, you know, ended my career, but I was a lot better. It was a skill that I knew I needed to learn in order to become a better player. So if you want to be the best of the best, like the Lions, you have to go over and above. You have to be doing more than everybody else. You have to be hungry. You have to work harder. So yeah, work hard.
Yes, mate.
Before the final of the 2003 World Cup, what was the change in the team like?
No different to any other time. You know, we had some real senior players in there. Some guys like Martin Johnson, Lawrence Delaleo, Jason Leonard, Neil Back, Richard Hill. We had a lot of leaders in that team. So you know, we had worked exceptionally hard for that for that World Cup. It was years in advance. I tell you, the training we did up until that World Cup was the hardest I've ever done. And you know, we firmly believed as a group that we were the best prepared team for that game. And when you get into finals, when you get into the pressure games, it's important that you don't lose your focus. Because if you lose your focus, if you get caught up in everything that's going on, the crowd, the occasion, you'll make mistakes. So for us, it was simple. The team talk for me, what I can remember, wasn't any different to the previous week. You know, everybody had to do their job. You know, you had to look after your mate, you had to work hard and put them under pressure, keep putting them under pressure. We didn't know that the game was going to go to extra time, but we knew going into extra time, when you ever get into a circle with your team, and there's certain times in the game and you look around and you can see it in their eyes that this is our game. And you can also see it in the opposition when it's not their game. But we look round and you look at Martin Johnson and all the other guys and Jonny Wilkinson, you think, this is our game. Don't panic. Just keep doing what we're doing, and the results will come. And nobody went off script. Nobody went off script, and that's why we managed to do it. The drop goal right at the end, you know, that was probably 4 years in the making. So every time after training, Glavwood would just get us there and said, look, we're points down, last play of the game, we need to win the game. So we played opposed, we played against another team, and then we'd go through that. So we'd train under pressure so that when the pressure came in a game, we'd be used to it. If you don't train under pressure, it's easy. In training, I'm sure there's a few forwards here like to kick a ball. In training, you can kick goals and everybody can kick. All of a sudden, you get into a match day when somebody's sprinting at you to block a kick. All of a sudden, things don't go right. So we would train under huge amounts of pressure so that when it came to the game, we would be comfortable with that pressure, and then we'd be able to execute whatever we needed, whether it was that drop goal. You know, nobody panic, don't panic. When only at the right time would it come back to Jonny Wilkinson when he would want it. Everybody else, keep working, pick and go, get numbers in there. And then Matt Dawson, back to Jonny Wilkinson. Good night. Thank you very much.
And Jonny Wilkinson is the perfect example of what you were saying earlier about doing the extras. First on the training park, last off the training park, just slotting goals and slotting goals and slotting goals.
It's not great though when you're kicking balls back to him. Right? I thought to myself, because I wasn't a good kicker, I thought, right, I best go out and learn from the best. It just makes sense. And I can remember just saying, look, I need to spend a bit of time, I'll kick balls back to you, I'll watch what you're doing and everything else. But oh man, he was out so long, it was ridiculous. But that's why he's one of the best in the world, and that's why we keep talking about guys like that, because you know, things don't come easy, they don't come by chance. And it's no, you know, it's just the guys that are committed to that excellence, you know, that end up being the ones that we keep talking about.
Of course, it pays off. Anything else? Oh, here we go. Oh, we go. Yes, sir.
Hi, Jason. Token Scotsman in the audience. I've got two questions, if I can be greedy. First one, who's the best tourist that you've been away with? And the second one, is there any chance we're going to see you in Strictly Come Dancing?
Who's the best tourist? Oh, it's hard to pick out. There's so many great guys. That's what's great about the Lions, because a lot of these guys you just play against all year and smash each other, and then all of a sudden you're forced together, but then you realise that actually the guy that I thought was an idiot actually is a very nice guy. And it's amazing, as soon as people cross that whitewash, they turn into something else. I really enjoyed rooming with Brian O'Driscoll on that 2001 Lions tour. It was my first tour. I was new into rugby union. He was, you know, a young lad, and he was on fire as well. And that tour for both of us was really good. I mean, I've had some other roomies that have not been the best.
You can tell us.
No, I can't. I can't. Strictly Come Dancing, I've been asked to do all that kind of stuff, and I've refused to do it. I did do the jump, the skiing program. I'm not sure why, because I've never skied before and I'm scared of heights. But anyway, I just thought I'd try that out. But I'm not really into all the celeb-y stuff. I don't. Saying that, I'll be on it next year.
It just takes a while to build platforms tall enough for him, that's all. Listen, right, as I'm in so much trouble and I'm about to get my head kicked in by Jason, I think we need to draw a veil on it there. Anything else you want to ask, Jason will be around all day. But if we don't wrap this up, you guys won't get a chance to play out there.